If you've been feeling the call to write a book, it is no accident. Your book is needed in the world, so let's make it happen. I'm Nicola Humber, and this is the Unbound Writers Club. Hello and welcome to the Unbound Writers Club. Today I am joined by Holly Copeland, the author of one of our latest releases at the Unbound Press, Inner Rewilding, a scientist's journey into being. Holly and I first connected around 4 years ago now, when she knew, like, she'd felt this call to write a book. And we talk about this during this conversation, that initially she thought it was one thing and it became something else, which so often happens on this book birthing journey. Inner Rewilding is the story of one woman's journey from depletion to remembrance and an invitation into your own. It is already making waves in the world. Again, this is something we talk about during this conversation. I'm really, really excited for you to meet Holly and hear more about her incredibly inspirational book birthing journey. So let's dive in. So, Holly, welcome to the Unbound Writers Club.
Thank you, Nicola. I can't believe I'm sitting here in this seat about to have this conversation with you, to be honest.
Me too. I'm kind of bouncing around like with excitement because before we hit record, I said it feels like this one's been a long time coming. I mean, a lot of the books that we publish through the Unbound Press, they have their own timing. It's all perfect. But I'm delighted that your beautiful book is now out in the world and we get to talk about it. And I generally begin with the question, what makes you an unbound writer? Like, is there any old belief or story that you've liberated yourself from around writing, or something you feel you're doing differently?
That's such a good question. Yeah, there's a very sweet, simple answer that's coming through. Yeah, an unbound writer is a writer that just allows the spirit of the book to come through them, surrendering ownership of the book, that it's my book. And it's like, no, there's actually a spirit of inner rewilding that came through me. And that, to me, to be unbound is to really surrender to the spirit of the book that wants to come through you.
Beautiful. So beautiful. And as you're saying that, Holly, it's really interesting because it just makes me kind of remember and know and realize that obviously I get to connect with each of the authors at the Unbound Press and each one has their unique essence. But actually, like, having your book, Inner Rewilding, on my desk here, I really feel that unique energy, essence, spirit of this book, and each one, up on the shelves behind me. Yeah, they've got their own kind of personality, spirit, and quite distinct from the author, which is interesting.
So interesting. And I want to really, hats off and credit you, because I remember working in the very beginning of this process and starting to work with you. And you spoke about this. You spoke about the spirit of the book and how the book would change you. And, and at the time, of course, it's like when it's really nascent in the beginning, you can't quite feel that. And it's like, I'm just trusting this thing that you're talking about, that it will come through. But I just want to acknowledge that you have actually been coming from that perspective the whole time. And, you were really right. That's exactly what happened. And I want to say, like, and it didn't start as Inner Rewilding, right? I had a different name for this book.
Yeah.
And that the Inner Rewilding spirit and what it became birthed through the 4-year process of working together. And there was, challenge and difficulty and, growing pains and all the things that you talk about when you're mentoring somebody, and why this process was so beautiful.
Yeah.
To have you mentoring through this process.
Oh, well, it's been such a delight for me as well. And I want to take you back to the beginning. Like, how did you get started with writing your book? Like, when you felt that initial call to do this?
Yeah. Yeah. I had come through a whole portal of 5 years of this transformation within myself. And as I look back now, I've been a writer my whole life in different ways. So like, for example, when my kids were born, I started writing letters to one of their grandparents as kind of a weekly, and then it became a monthly thing. And then I realized, oh, actually all the family would benefit this from, they all want to know this same thing about what's going on with their granddaughters. And so I ended up doing this monthly letter that I would send out. And I continued that for like 2 years. And I recently went back and looked at them, and oh my God, what a gift to have that, 2 pages of detailed, me talking through. I have twins, so talking through all the things about raising my twin girls. So just as an example of, I realized that I've been in a way a writer my whole life. And so as I came through this portal of these 5 years, I just started feeling, wow, I feel like I want to tell my story. And that just was a little whisper, at first. It's just like a little whisper. Oh, I really want to tell my story. I really want to tell my story. And it would come back in little ways. And yeah. And then my publicist, and I was doing podcasts, she knew you. Dear Nina Kaiser, she knew you and said, there's a woman who mentors women to write their books. And so it began. We had the conversation, and that really, I tell this to so many people. Like, I know that had I not had your mentorship, I would not have completed this book. I needed someone to hold my hand and hold me accountable. There's nothing like putting down your own hard-earned money towards something.
Yeah, very true.
Very true. But I needed not just the money, but definitely that's a part of it, the accountability of that. But I needed somebody who knew the process and who could hold my hand and walk me through. And it was so essential to the completion. But once you appeared as, here's a way forward. And yeah, I just felt such a big yes in my body.
Yeah. So how did the book change over that period? Because like you said, that was 4 years ago when we initially connected, and you stepped in, you were like, yes, I'm doing this. How has it changed and evolved over that time?
Yeah. Well, when I started this journey, I thought it was a memoir. And so it started as a memoir and me telling my story. And I actually heard you on a podcast describe a way that one of your books had changed.
Yeah.
And you planted a seed of an idea in my head of, wow, this could actually be, I kind of want it to be a spiritual guidebook too, because I want to share how to make this change. And what I tried to do originally was put the guidebook part embedded in the story. And I was struggling with that because I was like trying to kind of teach and tell a story at the same time. And it wasn't really working. And it was like filled with like too much science that's complicating the sweetness of the story of the memoir. And something you said prompted me to divorce those two and put them in, like have a happy divorce and make that part 2, the teaching guidebook part 2, and make part 1 just the story.
Yeah.
And when I did that, Inner Rewilding was born. Yeah. It was like in that moment when I finally understood that's what was supposed to happen, then part 2 was born. But the guidebook part, and in that, in a series of for lack of a better word, downloads, I got the inner idea of Inner Rewilding finally came through. And that's when the name changed, and that's when the whole book really took off, actually. And that was probably not like, I don't know, I can't remember now, but 1.5 years or 2 into the process.
Yeah. I love it. Those moments when there's that new layer of clarity and it's like, and everything shifts and you can see how the book is meant to be. I like to think that rather than a divorce, those 2 sections are a conscious uncoupling of those 2 sections of the book.
There you go. Better said. Yes. There was a very conscious uncoupling.
Exactly.
The new book was born. Yep. Yes.
Oh, did you have any particular fear or doubt, like through the process? Was there anything in particular that came up for you?
Yeah, a number of things.
Yeah. I don't know why I say,
Yeah.
was there? Like, when I'm asking everybody, I know there's always something, but I'm
Yeah.
curious
Oh
to
my
know
gosh.
what it was for you.
Yeah. I mean, there were multiple ones, but I guess the one that stands out to tell right now is just knowing when the book is complete and
Mm,
having the faith that the editing is good enough to really pass this into the world. It was a very, as you know, it took well over a year. Like I passed multiple copies to my editor where I said, this is the final version. And then, oh no, a month later, not actually. And that probably went on for over a year. I'm actually fine. Like I think my instincts and my intuition were right on.
mm,
So I will say that I am very happy with the multiple times that I went back and rewrote the beginning right at the end of the process, or rewrote the end right at the end of the process. There were multiple rewrites to some of those key prefaces and introductions.
mm.
And, and it happened like my dear friend and partner at the time, we're no longer together, but dear friends, and I read aloud the preface to him again. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, no, this isn't quite right again. I
Mm.
haven't quite nailed what I want to say, and sat with it and then went back and rewrote it again.
Yeah.
Even though you, bless your heart, or my editor were saying, this is great. It's great. You actually do have to really feel into your heart,
Totally.
like, and not take anybody else's word for it, but like
Yeah.
be like in a deep place of, do I actually feel like this is complete?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why, it's really important for me and us as a team at the Unbound Press. We're there to like hold space, support, but we're always author led. And it's like, it's got to feel right to you. And only you know that. We're like, this is great. But
Yeah.
what's true in your heart. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's important for me that we trust that as well, because when your book goes out into the world, I want it to be like the truest expression of what you envisioned.
Yeah.
So I love that you took your time with that process. I remember we met because you came over to the UK at the beginning of last year, and we met in
Right.
Glastonbury. And I think at that point we thought, okay, it was going to happen probably within a few months of that. And no,
Hmm.
these books,
No.
they do their own thing. It's all good.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated, I felt that way throughout the process, that while you guys were saying this is great, you were also incredibly patient. And every time I said, no, sorry, I actually just rewrote this, nobody was, chastising me or scolding me. You guys were like, yep, great, keep going, do what you need to do. And I really felt that. I felt that you understood and held space for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's so interesting because there's timing, there really,
Mm,
I now feel there is a divine timing, and there is a divine, it's like there's just a divine timing, and the timing of how this is coming out now is actually perfect
yeah.
with everything else going on in my life. I actually right now have the space to really give this part of the process now, space and time.
Mm.
And had it been last summer, it wouldn't have been the right time. So
Yeah.
it all unfolds just as it's meant to.
It's always perfect. It's always,
Mhm.
I've experienced that over and over again with my own books and, other books that have been birthed through the Unbound Press. It's like, we can judge ourselves. It's like, wow, why is this taking like longer? I thought it would be out sooner, but it's always, always perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I also just want to speak to, okay, so that's the end process. The beginning, the middle process of telling that story is, oh gosh, complex. And it also kind of remakes itself while you're telling it. And there's
Mm.
like a way of holding space for that I really learned, and I would, I don't know. Like I didn't think I was going to tell parts of the story. And then a whole new chapter kind of birthed out of nowhere through a comment that, my dear friend made. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. I haven't told that part. And then, oh, this new chapter was birthed. So I guess what I'm saying is like really giving space for the creative process
Yeah.
to unfold in ways that are unexpected, and you don't necessarily see. There's so much deep listening through this process,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how the magic happens. When we allow that space and allow ourselves to listen and to live what our books need us to live in order to truly birth them.
Yeah.
How do you feel now that Inner Rewilding is out in the world, Holly?
I feel actually really giddy and
Mm.
excited, especially as reviews are coming in that are really nourishing to my soul. I have a dear friend, a conversation with a dear friend. We were childhood friends together, and she was talking about how impactful the book has been for her and how helpful it is, and how she couldn't put it down. And she's not a very, she doesn't read a lot, but this book just had really captured her heart, and how impactful it is. I've heard that from multiple people, and things like, wow, I really can't put this down. The way you've written is so engaging. Not just my mom, but like other people that I mean, bless my mom. Thank God my mom is there also cheering me on, and I'm so grateful. But to hear people that, don't need to tell me that the book is that great, if they didn't need to reach out, but they have. And so to hear that, and that validates everything we're talking about, the time that I spent, the process, the editing, work that I spent extra time on, all validates that. And I really feel proud of this book, and that's a very good feeling, because it was a scary thing to do. I guess I'll say it that way. It felt scary, actually, when I finally sent that last, edit in and said, okay, this is actually the one, and it was the one. It was it was in a way terrifying, because what if I hadn't done a really good job, and what if people were like, not that everybody's going to love this book, but to have faith that I did justice to it, and that I am proud of it. Yeah.
Because you never know. I remember even with my last book, that's the fourth one, and still I was like, I think it's good, but what if everyone's like, what?
Right. It is kind of terrifying.
It
right?
is, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
most people don't do it. Most people don't do it. They stay, they'll stay with like half finished manuscripts, or get to a point and then stop. And this is the edge. Or there are many edges during the book writing and birthing process,
Right.
but that final, like, okay, I'm putting it out there, is huge. It's huge. So yeah.
Yeah. I the word terrifying is the one that comes to mind. And I share that because if you're a writer listening and you're at that stage, I want you to know that, like, that's how I felt too.
Yeah.
And apparently that's how you felt as well. And
it is.
yeah. And this is what I mean. It's terrifying. And this is what I mean by saying, like, if you're also a writer and you don't, you haven't committed to a process, somebody like Unbound Press or otherwise, I exactly think this is where I would have given up. And, or before, but here for sure, if I hadn't had other people holding my hand, reading the book, cheering me on, I don't think I could have done it. It's really hard to get over that and have faith that, taking that last step.
Exactly. We weren't going to let you not publish this book. I mean, we were holding space, trusting the timing, but it was always going to happen.
Yeah. And I could feel that there was that no turning back, even though I was terrified. So,
yeah. Can I share the story about my sister taking because we were just talking again before we hit record, and my sister's just been on a 10-day silent retreat in Norway, and she took your book with her. She saw me sharing about it and was like, oh yeah, I feel like I want to take that with me. And she was sharing a cabin with somebody, an American woman, I believe. And my sister Louise had finished reading Inner Rewilding and passed it over silently, I think. Did you say
Yeah,
she
she
wrote
put
a
a
note?
little note. She put a little like sticky note or whatever on it.
Oh, and her cabinet mate read it and has since reached out to you
Yeah.
because she was so impacted by the
Hmm.
book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we had the most sweetest conversation. She's an American living in Norway,
Mm,
and we very well may work together. She wants to do coaching work with me.
incredible.
And, I could just feel like this is an example of the validation of it, right? I could feel when she was on the call with me how much the story that I told impacted her and how she felt herself in the same place and that, I could help her. So again,
Incredible.
just like really these little signs coming in now from the universe of that the book I did well and I feel really
Yeah.
good about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's doing what I wanted it to do, right? I set out hoping that if I told my story, it could help people, right? Why else do we tell our stories? Like
Hmm.
we it's not just, because everybody needs to know my story. No, I don't care about that. I'm telling the story because by God, if what I went through somehow helps somebody else, then it was totally worth it, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just love
Yeah.
that example of like, the magic of, when our books find somebody and like it creates that deep connection and in a relatively short amount of time. It's amazing. Yeah.
Right. It's really amazing. I mean, I can feel I had in a way like I had no idea going into it how what that feeling would be like on this other side to hear from multiple people now that the book has really impacted them.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, it's a book is a powerful thing. It's a
Yeah.
it's sorcery. It's
It
magic.
is. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Holly, I'm going to ask you one final question. I could like carry on talking with you, and I'm sure we'll have other conversations about inner rewilding. But if somebody's listening to this and they're either feeling the call to write a book or in the process, what one piece of advice would you give to them?
Do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Just do it. That's so funny. Do it and work with Unbound Press or, wherever you feel, it doesn't mean to be an advertisement, but, just like feel the resonance. Inner rewilding, one of the key principles of inner rewilding is to align with your wild heart, which is to start to tune into what resonance feels like in your body. And
Mm,
that means going into your heart and feeling and knowing what a yes feels like and starting to learn to guide your life by that. Because my life was guided before all this work by this kind of back and forth pros and cons in my head kind of a thing. Should I, shouldn't I? And it was a lot of inner narrative and dialogue. And what I learned and one of the things I teach is how to really feel that open, expansive feeling in your heart, which is the universe. That's the language of the universe saying yes to
mm,
you.
yeah.
And, if you feel a contraction, which is the opposite, which is kind of a pulling back or a closure in your heart, or you might actually physically kind of pull away, that's a no. And we honor sacred no's as well. We're here to learn what a sacred no is and how do I put the brakes on something because it's not meant to be yet, and
Mm.
how to move forward in our lives with a sacred yes, with a place where you feel expansive and open. So if you're feeling that feeling with writing a book, then honor the spirit of the book that wants to come through you and do it.
Yeah, please do. Please do. And, whatever support you feel called to as well, trusting that, really
Yeah,
important.
exactly. And get support. Get
Yeah.
support. As I think anybody listening to this would hear from the message that the support was essential to birthing this book.
Oh, well, I'm so grateful that we got to connect and that I and we at the Unbound Press got to hold space for your journey and inner rewilding. Holly, for those listening who are curious and would like to find out more about you and your work, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so thank you. Thank you again so much for all of this. I'm just so, so, so delighted and honored and grateful for your what you're bringing into the world, the way you're helping authors. It's a beautiful mission, and I'm so, so, so grateful, Nicola. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Holly.
And yeah, you can go to hollycopeland.co, and that's my website. You can find my book, and I'm going to create a course from the book. So it'll be a few months, but that will be available. And yeah, all the ways to connect. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. We'll make sure the link is in the show notes for anyone who would like to come and discover more over there. Again, thank you so much, Holly. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a long time, and I've just enjoyed it so much. So thank you so much for saying yes and like going on this journey. And yeah, let's see what magic wants to unfold next for Inner Rewilding.
Thank you so much, Nicola. I'm deeply, deeply grateful and appreciative.